hightimetoawake.com presents High Time to Awake. Bible Prophecy with Craig C. White. Today's study is titled The Leopard is Upon Us, a new look at Daniel chapter 7. Let's get started with Daniel chapter 7. We're going to concentrate today on the first 7 verses. We're going to give you a viewpoint that you've probably never seen before, and one that is very contemporary as these events are happening right before our eyes. Daniel chapter 7 is commonly interpreted as describing world empires, ancient world empires, such as the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, and the Grecian Empire. My viewpoint is that Daniel 7 refers to nations that exist at the end times. I don't believe that Daniel chapter 7 does refer to ancient world empires. I believe that Daniel chapter 7 refers to 4 kings who are going to be instrumental in creating the final Gentile world empire. As a matter of fact, I believe that those kings are alive and well today and very well known. Daniel 7 verse 17 refers in particular to kings. So kings play a very important role in this prophecy. To summarize Daniel chapter 7, I would say that it is about 4 nations or empires and 4 kings. These 4 kings work together to create the final Gentile world empire. This final Gentile world empire is in the geographical region of the ancient Roman Empire. In Daniel chapter 7, the word beast is the word for a wild beast of the field. Beast in Bible prophecy represent Gentile governments. Beasts often refer to world empires. In Daniel chapter 7, I believe they typically refer to nations and groups of nations. Governments are represented by animals that were indeed their symbols. In Daniel 7, there are 4 beasts that are like animals that represent these empires or nations or groups of nations. These beasts have wings, heads, and horns. These are common devices used in Bible prophecy to represent specific things. The beasts sometimes have wings, not always, but the wings represent either colonies or nations that are associated with the main beast or empire or nation, but not necessarily having the same power or authority that they have. The heads often refer to separate empires throughout time. In Daniel 7, there's only one use of heads, and that is in the third beast. It has 4 heads, and I believe that's referring to nations in this case. Horns are very common in Bible prophecy. Horns represent leaders, typically kings. There are horns and there are little horns. There are 2 little horns in Daniel chapter 7. I believe that a little horn is typically referring to a secondary leader, a prince or a vice president or governor or something of that nature. Those are just a few guidelines as we start reading Daniel 7 that you can employ on your own and begin to understand as we read what these things mean. So let's just start by reading the first few verses in Daniel 7. Daniel chapter 7 verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. Verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 1, Daniel has a dream, and it's in the first year that Belshazzar was king of Babylon. Belshazzar was the grandson of King Nebuchadnezzar, who was the greatest king in Babylon. Belshazzar was the last king in Babylon. The Babylonian Empire collapsed under his reign as king of Babylon. That's described in Daniel chapter 5. You're probably familiar with the story of the handwriting on the wall. If this vision came to Daniel during the reign of Belshazzar, that means that the Babylonian kingdom was almost at a close. So if these beasts refer to the Babylonian kingdom, then Daniel's vision was not prophecy, but it was history. Again, it is a popular interpretation to see the Babylonian kingdom here, but I don't see it here. I see contemporary kingdoms, the kingdoms of the world today. In verse 2, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Now, the 4 winds of heaven is a term that's used other places in the Bible. For example, in Daniel chapter 8, verse 8, it speaks of Alexander the Great's empire split 4 ways, and it says that it was split towards the 4 winds of heaven. Chapter 8, verse 8 says, Therefore the he-goat waxed great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and it came up 4 notable ones towards 4 winds of heaven. That may sound strange to our ears at first, but most scholars agree that this refers to Alexander the Great's kingdom. When Alexander the Great died, his kingdom was divided between his 4 generals. It divided towards the 4 winds of heaven. That is, part of it went northwest, part of it went southwest, part of it went northeast, part of it went southeast. So the 4 winds of heaven are regions, areas, directions. I believe the 4 winds of heaven are heavenly powers, spiritual powers that affect the geopolitical direction of nations. The 4 winds of heaven blow from the 4 corners of the world. That is to say that the 4 corners of the ancient world empires are the locations of the 4 winds of heaven. The 4 winds of heaven blow from the 4 furthest extents of the ancient world empires. The 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. The great sea is another term that is used frequently in Bible prophecy, and the great sea is the multitude of nations and people on earth. Here's a side note. When Bible prophecy refers to the region directly around the land of Israel, the Great Sea typically refers to the Mediterranean Sea. That's just something to keep in mind when you're reading prophecy on your own. In Daniel 7, I believe these winds affect in the northwest, England, in the northeast, Russia, and in the southeast, a new confederacy of nations in South Central Asia, including India, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. Verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another, and they're described by different animals. In verse 4, the first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Many commentators teach that the lion represents Babylon, and the lion was, in fact, the symbol of the city of Babylon. It's all over its walls. If you ever see pictures of Babylon, chances are you're going to see a picture of a lion. However, the lions are never depicted with eagle's wings. There's one nation that we can easily identify as being represented by a lion with eagle's wings, and that's England. I'm not the first one to consider this. Sir Robert Anderson, who was a detective in Scotland Yard around the turn of the century in 1900, wrote an amazing book titled The Coming Prince. You can still get this book. It's one of the best books ever written on the 70th week of Daniel and the end time prophecy and the coming of the Antichrist. He believed that the lion represented England. The lion with eagle's wings was made to stand upon its feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. I believe that this refers to the fact that England was once a great empire, but in the last days that its empire has been diminished and that it now serves as a representative in world affairs, specifically creating the final world empire. Former England Prime Minister Tony Blair is very active on the one world government front today. Just a side note, when world leaders speak of the New World Order, they may envision one world government. When the Bible speaks of the final Gentile world empire, it is located in the geographical region of the ancient Roman Empire. Another person to look at is Prince Charles. Prince Charles happens to be the chief figurehead in all of the Masonic order. And the Masonic order is common to all of these nations. So these two people are someone to watch that could be represented in Daniel 7's prophecy. This commentary is continued in The Leopard is Upon Us Part 2. Look for it on YouTube and at hightimetoawake.com. To read my full commentary, go to hightimetoawake.com. You may also contact me through the website as well as check out my new book. Thanks. Hello, this is Craig C. White. Please check out my website at hightimetoawake.com. And while you're there, check out my new book, High Time to Awake, 7 Misinterpreted Bible Prophecies. It contains several commentaries about prophecies that are about to happen in the world today, including Magog Made Easy, which is about an invasion of Israel led by Turkey, and also in chapter 1, the fall and rise of the Antichrist, which tells us that the revelation of the Antichrist on earth is the sign of the rapture. These are important issues for Christians to understand today, so please check out the book at hightimetoawake.com, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.